Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. This is Faz and today we are diving into a very important Azure networking topic, which is how to implement an Azure load balancer. Uh, by by the end of this video, you will have a clear understanding of how to create a standard load balancer, how to configure the backend pool, how to set up a health probe, and how to define a load balancing rule. Essentially, everything you need to get a working load balancer up and running in Azure. So let's get it started. All right, and before we start, before we start, all right. So before we jump into the implementation, let's quickly understand what Azure Load Balancer actually is. So Azure Load Balancer is high performance, ultra low latency layer 4 load balancer in Azure. It distributes incoming TCP and UDP traffic across a pool of backend virtual machines because it operates at layer 4. Uh, it does not look at URLs or application content. It simply routes packets based on IP and port. This makes it ideal for scenarios where you need fast, efficient, and high available traffic distributions. And if we talk about in Azure types of load balancer, Azure gives you two main types of load balancer. One is the public load balancer. This exposes your application to the internet using public IP. And second is internal load balancer. This is used inside your virtual network for private traffic distribution, such as between application tiers. So in this video, I'll show you how to create a public load balancer, but the steps are very similar for an internal one as well. All right, so we are uh, let's quickly cover what we have and what we are going to accomplish in this video. So uh, we are going to create a standard Azure load balancer, configure backend pool, set up health probe, define load balancing rule. These are the core building blocks for any of Azure load balancer deployment. And creating the Azure load balancer. Let's quickly jump into the so here you can see I have deployed two virtual machines that I would be using as a backend pool for load balancer. I'll go back to the load balancer here. You can simply type and let me just minimize this partial screen. And this so here on the top left you see I'm on load balancer, and you go to create and use standard load balancer. That's what we aim to create in this video. And once you're back to this basic wizard, you'll pick your subscription and the resource group that you have. I'm going to use resource group 3, and I'll use uh, name for load balancer. So I'll just give my uh, load balancer, and I'm going to use it in Central India. So fine with that. And I'm going to screw standard. Um, that's what I would be using here. And I'll keep it public. So you have an option like public and internal. That's what I was talking about just a few minutes back. And if you read that, you can use internal load balancer to balance traffic from private IP address. Public load balancers can balance traffic originating from public IP address. So I'm going to keep it here public for now, and I'll keep it regional with the default, and I'll move on to the next front-end IP configuration. Once I'm here, like on the top left, you see it gives you an option to add front-end IP configuration. Just click on that, and here right side you would see it comes up. So I'll just give a name. Uh, you need to give name front-end uh, IP, front-end IP. I'll simply give okay. Let's do one thing. Load balancer front-end IP. This is how I'm gonna. And since I do not have any public IP, so what I'll do, I'll just click create because I need to assign. I'll keep it exposed. So I'll give you LB and public IP. This is a kind of naming I'm gonna use here. I'll just keep it random. I'll save it, and I'm gonna save this here. Gateway load balancer, and uh, okay, I'll save it here. Create for now, and so here it's saved, and we are good to move to the backend pool. So now once we are here, you see an option here, add backend pool. So we'll click on that, and then it brings up a new wizard. So let's just wait, and it allows you basically to go and pick the backend services and machines for your load balancer. Okay, so let's just wait it while it's bringing up. All right, great. So now we see here add backend pool. So we'll simply give name here, uh, load balancer backend pool, and we'll pick the VNet that we have the virtual machines deployed in, and now we'll simply make that we have, and we'll click on add, and we see here we have two virtual machines that we have deployed. So we'll simply click add and then we're going to click on left side bottom save option. So let's click on that, and now you can see uh, this has been saved, and we are good to move to the next, which is inbound room. And so for now we'll just leave it default, and add rule, we'll just keep it like that, and we'll click on review and create the creating uh, the health probe will set up once we get this load balancer and deployed created. Okay, so let's just wait for quick seconds. It should be quick, and we should have the load balancer up and ready for us. All right, so now we see here the load balancer has been deployed, and we can just click on that to view the details of it and complete rest of the configuration. So whenever you deploy a load balancer, you can always come here, and even if you deploy half configured your load balancer, you're always welcome to come back, open your load balancer, and make all the changes whenever you want as you go and as you need, right? So next, what we had as per our plan, like the health probe. So here we see health probe. which is under settings. So we'll just click on that. Health probe continuously checks whether each VM in the backend pool is healthy and responsive. If a VM stops responding, the load balancer automatically stops sending traffic to it. So we'll create a new probe, choose the protocol like yeah, you have an option picking either TCP or HTTP. Specify the port and set the interval and threshold. This ensures that only healthy VM receive the traffic. So let's just wait. When it brings up, then we'll do the configuration and then move on to the next. All right. All right. So let's proceed with the configuration. Let's click on add on the top left for health pro, and let's give a name here. So I'll give name my health pro, and I'll keep it like HTTP, fine with port 80, and interval, anything that you want, you can define here. I'll go with 15, and I'll save this configuration. And on the top right, whenever you do any configuration changes or create, deploy, or delete, always like you can come back here on the top right. You see the bell icon. Click on that. It shows up every information and things are happening. So this is pretty cool way how you can keep a track of every task which has been initiated or been performed. Okay, so I'll close it, and I see the health probe. It's been created now. The second, now we'll move on with load balancing rules. So uh, now let's create the load balancing rule. This rule ties everything together. It defines basically the front end IP, the backend pool, the protocol, the port mapping, and session persistence. So it in a simple term, this rule tells Azure how to distribute traffic from the front end to the backend VMs. So once a rule is created, your load balancer will be fully configured. All right, so let's just wait here. Once we have the options, then we'll move on setting up the load balancing rule here. All right, so now let's move on creating the load balancer balancing rule here. So we'll on top left click add under load balancing rules, and let's give name here. I'll give my HTTP rule. I'll, I'll go with IPv4, and we have created this front end IP. The so I'll will pick that, and we have created the load balancer backend pool. So I'll pick that, and we'll go with TCP here, and port. If you remember, we had 80, so we'll pick that and keep it 80 here. So health probe, my health probe, that I'll pick this session persistent. I'll go with default none, and timeout I'll keep 4, fine, I'm okay with, and rest look absolutely fine. So I'll just simply click save to save the configuration for load balancing, and on the top right side, extreme top right side, you see the configuration is getting saved, and it has gone successful here. So what all we have covered here, like if you see, we created a standard load balancer, and we configured the backend pool with 2 virtual machines successfully, and we created HTTP health probe. which is very important and crucial part to make sure like load balancer is like sending out the traffic to the healthy backend servers. And we defined load balancing rules. So with that, we have now that's it. We have successfully implemented an Azure load balancer. So now with this, we create the load balancer, configure the backend pool, and set up help probe and define load balancing rules. So exactly the core components needed for a working load balancer setup in Azure. So if you found this tutorial helpful, please give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and share it with others who are learning Azure. And if you'd like me to cover application gateway, front door, load balancer, or VMS scale sets, just let me know in the comments. I'll be more than happy to uh, come up with those videos. And thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.